Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, bringing to you today a Burning Abyss deck profile today. So, this is actually a deck that I used to play quite a while ago, and it's one of my favorite decks of all time, even though I didn't play back when it first originally came out, but when I entered the game and kind of came back, this is one of the first decks that I picked up, and I've been enjoying it ever since on and off, and I've really enjoyed all the iterations from like the trap heavy builds to the pure combo oriented ones that are more commonplace nowadays. But yeah, I decided to play this at locals today because we did a charity event. So basically, for the entry cost of five cans of non-perishable food items, we were able to just play in a tournament where we would essentially just gain Astra packs per win that we'd rack up over the course of 5 rounds of Swiss. So I went 4-1, so got like I think it was like one for entering and then two for each win. So I got 9 Astral Packs and I actually pulled a ulti spell Shattering Arrow for fun fact. But anyways, that's besides the point. Um, I kind of threw this deck together like last second before the locals started because I was originally going to play something like Altergeist or maybe just go back to Lunalite or like any Lunalite variant. But I decided I just want to have a bit more fun today and play a deck that I hadn't played in a while. And I'm really glad I did because I just kind of forgot how much I really enjoyed playing this deck. And it is actually an Orcust variant, as you guys do see in the title. So yeah, I know it's Orcust. I mean, a lot of people are sick of this deck by now, but it still is very much a BA deck at its core, as far as getting your play started and grinding and stuff. And the engines actually supplement each other quite well. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with the deck. And what I'm about to showcase to you is not exactly the list that I played per se. It's gonna be very very close, but just like some minor changes, and I'll discuss like the things that I played, like actually played, and things that I didn't. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. So for the BAs, played the obligatory Seer, of course. Played the one Graph. Yeah, I'll do it like that, I guess. Played 2 copies of Skarm, 2 Farfos. So I'm not playing Orbital Hydrolander in this deck, but I really just don't want to clog up on duplicate names because I actually played a pretty heavy BA count, and I typically just try to like spam the board with BAs as much as I could. But for the effects that I want to resolve, like in Grave, I didn't want to have too many in my hand to where I'd be like forced to summon one and then not be able to use the Grave effect later on in that same turn. So I felt like 2 and 2 was still fine, and I just kind of supplemented that with the other BA names that I had. I basically played everything that I brought with me to locals today. So yeah, that it was 2 Libic. I actually probably would just play 2, like even disregarding the fact that I didn't really have enough filler cards, which is why I played like more of maybe some of the other BAs. But yeah, 2 Epic is actually pretty nice. It helps you link climb later into the game, which kind of makes up for the biggest weakness of BAs, is that you kind of get stuck and rely on your like whatever non-extenders you're playing. So if you're playing the Block Dragon list, then you like are kind of relying on that. Or like the Earth monsters that you're searching, and if you're relying on like the Orcust build, like I am, then you're kind of relying on those cards. But like the BAs themselves kind of help you start most of the time if you're playing a combo oriented build, but later they're not as useful to like bring onto the board. But Libic helps alleviate that problem. So I think 2 is actually like a fine number to run. Then I played 2 copies of Alec. This is not one that I probably run at 2. But I did actually appreciate having a lot of BA names because like I didn't really run too many like level 3 extenders. I ran a fair bit, but not so many to where like I'd be able to reliably, like maybe summon, for example, like a mathematician and then like special a guy that isn't a BA name to like actually go into Cherubini without blowing the BAs up. So like just being able to like have 2 BAs in my opening hand oftentimes just helped me like make Cherubini without having to worry about just clashes with like the other normal summons or other play stories I had in my deck. But yeah, 2 of this probably isn't really needed, but I felt that like it was fine, but given what I had access to, but I mean it's okay. 1 copy of Barbar. Barbar is still really good, and 1 Calcab. Yeah, so you can side out like the double or duplicate of Alec, or you can side out like Calcab based on the matchup, like games 2 and 3, if you like kind of want to put in other cards, because like I think the difference of one BA name doesn't really mathematically change the likelihood of you opening like certain cards like that often. So I mean, it shouldn't be that drastic. So yeah, it's totally fine. And then for the other standard BA stuff, 1 copy of Tour Guide. which is like always, as I always say with BA, it's like the best worst card in the deck because it's susceptible to every interruption. But like if it's like past turn one and you already have like fairly good setup and your opponent has used like a fair bit of their disruption, then this card becomes a lot better. Like after you know you can safely use it, but like opening a turn one is generally really risky. I played 3 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Yeah, this card is really good because of the fact that like again I'm not playing Hydrolander. I'm not playing too many normal summons, so like it's fine to normal summon this. And because I'm playing the higher BA count, it's nice to kind of just have like a pseudo BA. So like having this plus any BA is like basically the same as opening 2 BAs. And it's really good for sending Edgem Sabers, which I think is pretty important in this specific build, and I'll get to that a bit later when I actually get there. And then I played double copies of Mathematician. This card I would actually consider bumping up to 3. I was missing one of the key targets to send, like, because I left it at home, which I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, this card is really useful for sending, like, Libic if you want to get, like, a hard-drawn Seer out of your hand, which, you know, Seer is, like, a brick opening. Like, you don't want to open it, but like, you can get that out of your hand. It can get Edgem Sabers, and it can get, like, other cards. Like, and if you have your setup in your hand, you could just send a Harp, which is a really good way to get into your Orcust combo. So yeah, this card is really good. I would play it over Scrap Recycler for sure, because Scrap Recycler really bottlenecks you into the Orcust play, whereas this card is really flexible. You could send, like I said, Libic, you can send Edgem Sabers, you can send Sea Archiver, and then the card that I, you know, wish I had today, which is like the only real thing I wish I had. But yeah, I would actually consider playing this at 3, but like I don't really want to bulk up on too many normal summons. This is already 6, which is quite a lot. Granted, Rhino isn't necessarily always a normal summon, so like you can maybe like think of it as just like an extender in its own right. If you can get it in the grave, like it basically fulfills like that different purpose as well. But yeah, like I think 2 or 3 of this could work. Would have to play around with it if I want to like actually make this optimized. Next up, I played 2 copies of Jackalope and 2 Snake. I didn't play Nessie. I just don't think Nessie is good when like the entire goal is to just turbo out Cherubini turn 1, and like Nessie's cool for like additional link plays, but like if you can't get to your initial like starting point, then it's not really that good. Like I'd rather have one of these just in my hand than like a Nessie that draws me into a BA that I can't summon, for example. Like these cards are just always going to make sure that like they contribute to your combo sequence, whereas Nessie doesn't necessarily do that for you. And then for other stuff, I played 2 copies of Psychic Tracker. So I actually don't own Wielder right now. I know it's only like $4, but yeah, I just don't have that card for some reason. Definitely would play Wielder in addition to / in place of this. But yeah, this is basically just a free body whenever you have like Mathematician or Danger. Oftentimes I actually cited it out for other cards, and I didn't really miss it too badly. I don't think the level 3 additional extenders are that needed if you have like a high BA count like I do. So I think that's kind of the neat thing about like the high BA count is that like if you are fixated on them, then like they can help get your combo started. But the downside being that like these cards are better in the later game when like you already have your link boxes established and are trying to like push your game. But I think generally speaking, it's like fine to have that trade off because again, like stuff like Libic exists, and you have the ability to like if your board gets wiped, you can like use the BAs to start over again, and like it basically just does the same thing. Like again, they're always just starters, and like later in the game, like they don't become as important like to summon as you know just for utility. So I didn't actually play this, but I am for now playing a Defrag Dragon. This would probably be a Psychic Wielder, so do keep that in mind. But what I played, actually, I'll get to that a bit later. So I'll actually just explain this now. So the card I was talking about was Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line is the card that I missed having played. So this is a card that you would want to send off Mathematician because the token that O-Line summons is level 3, so it helps you get into Cherubini. I left this at home, so I didn't have it. But yeah, it would have actually been really nice to have in certain instances. Definitely play this card if you're playing Mathematician. And I played instead of these 2, I played 2 copies of Gallus the Star Beast. I didn't actually play that many spells and traps, even though I didn't run Sekka, which I'll get to a bit later. But I felt like this card kind of, you know, is risky to run not even like risky necessarily, but it kind of just limits your deck building in the same way that Light Seca does. Like if you run this with Light Seca or Seca's Light, they work together really really well because both of their kind of like restrictions in order for you to maximize their usage are like they're complementary. But Gallus plus like a slightly higher spell trap count BA list is not really that synergistic. So I wouldn't really bother with that. I didn't actually play that many spells and traps. I only played 4 in total. But still, like the possibility of this missing kind of sucks. Whereas like if you play like Psychic Wielder and like Tracker and stuff, it's better. And like tentatively right now, I'm playing Defrag Dragon as a placeholder. It's a free summon, and I'm only playing like low numbers of these because like they are hard ones for turns. Like ideally, it'd be like one Tracker, one Wielder, and like one of this, or like maybe 2 Wielder. Like I would never play more than 2 of any of them, but yeah, they're basically just free summons out of the hand. And cool thing with Defrag specifically though is that like if you hard draw Orcusts, you can actually just pitch them, which is nice. But there is also another way you can, I guess, alleviate. There's actually a couple ways you can alleviate that, but yeah. Another card is Sea Archiver, which I mentioned, I believe. Yeah, this card's really really good in comparison to like the rest of these because it works out of the hand and the grave, whereas like these only work out of the hand, and Edgem Sabers only works out of the grave. So yeah, Sea Archiver is really really good. It doesn't take priority necessarily in the early game. Like if you want to like start your combos unless you're like really far ahead, as far as your opening is like insanely good. Because like a lot of the time setting Edgem Sabers is really good. Because it is a fiend first off, so it works a lot more nicely with Rhino. But also it helps you stack your Orcusts on top of your deck. So when you go and make Dante, like if you draw your Orcust, so you put the Orcust on top of your deck, and then you mill it off Dante, and that like guarantees you a way into getting to Orcust without like relying on milling them. But yeah, so that's it for like the BAs and the extenders, I guess. Next up, I will go ahead and get into the Orcust portion of the deck. So yeah, this is the the part where everyone groans. So 3 copies of Harp Horror. I played 3 Orcust Nightmare, a Symbol, and a World Wand. So yeah, like the reason I maxed out on the Harp and Nightmare is to maximize the chances of milling them as well as to hard draw them. Because if you hard draw them, like I mentioned with Edgem Sabers, you can stack them and then mill them, which is totally cool. And also I played Barricade Board Blocker at locals, but I'm probably going to take it out. Well, I might take it out because I think like Edgem Sabers is definitely better. Like for this list, tentatively, I have it taken out, but yeah, it's like kind of iffy. But yeah, like these numbers are fine, except when you open all 3 Orcust Nightmare in your opening hand, it gets Infernoid, which was my only loss. Like I lost game 1 because I opened all 3 of these and I just didn't have a way to play the game because I drew Tracker with the Farfa as well. So like that's what I was talking about with either you play a high concentration of BAs or a high concentration of extenders, and yeah, and then game 2 I just lost the grind because Noid is a pretty bad matchup for BA and Orcust combined. But yeah, this package is really good just because like it increases your ceiling in ways that are really unfair because it's Orcust. So that's it for the monsters. Next up, we got the spells. There's only 3. So I played Foolish Burial, pretty self-explanatory. I played Card Destruction, which is really, really good. Everything wants to be engraved at all times. So yeah, this card was too good not to play. And then I played Orcust Babel, of course, and then the Crescendo as the only trap. Really nothing to say there. It's just Orcust stuff. I didn't play Lure of Darkness because like you don't want to really banish your BAs because those are your play starters. Like even the bad BA names, like so to speak, you don't really want to just get rid of those resources because you're trading them for like either extenders. Like they help you filter, I guess, but like at that point you might as well just lower the BA count entirely. But then if you lower the BA count, then Allure gets worse. So like then you'd be banishing Orcust. But, like you kind of want to draw the Orcusts so that like you can get like Edgem stacks and stuff. The other card I didn't play was Orchestrated Return. I just didn't really feel it was that needed, and like you're not guaranteed to open Orcust card, even though the chance is pretty high. I just didn't want to run that risk, so I didn't bother with it. Maybe play 1 for like Galatea, like that's a consideration. But I definitely didn't feel the need to main like 2 or 3 or anything like the other Orcust variants. So yeah, that's it for the 40 card main deck. Moving into the extra deck a bit, which I have to fix a little bit here. All right, so we got 2 copies of Dante. It's funny that like people are happy if they see two in a list, when two used to actually be blasphemous when everyone used to play three. But now that most people are only playing one, two is like, it feels nice. It feels more like a BA deck. I don't know why. But that's not the reason I play two. The reason I play two is just that like I centered my build around summoning Dante quite often, like even past turn one. So I just always wanted to have that like engine in my deck live. I didn't want it to just be kind of like a turn one play and then never use it again the entire duel because like that's how a lot of people see it. But like, and it's fine if you tailor your build that way. But I just didn't want to do that because I didn't have enough cards to be able to do that like sufficiently or efficiently. But yeah, I didn't really think it was that bad to play too. Like, it's part of your engine. I played Beatrice, which is pretty obvious. Because I play a higher BA count as well, you can make Beatrice a lot more readily without having to like rely on. I mean, you often get Seer access, right, because of Cherubini, but like you don't always have to like rely on that necessarily. Which is nice. It's kind of just a fallback. Like you pretty much always can make Beatrice if you want to. And then I played the Levier the Sea Dragon as the final rank 3. It's the only other rank 3 I played. I didn't play like Break Sword or Grand Pulse or any of those cards because just links have gotten so much better since I last played this deck, so like you don't really need those anymore. And Levier does something that the links don't do, which is recycle back banished copies of Seer that get hit by like Call by the Grave or DD Crow or Shark Cannon, or just any resource really that gets banished by those cards. And also, if you use Symbol Engrave to revive Dingirsu and have to use Dingirsu to send and not attach, and like say you don't have access to Galatea immediately, you can Levier back the symbol and basically keep going, which is pretty cool that you can do that. And I use that actually for that purpose a few times, which was nice. And the last Xyz is Dingirsu, which is pretty self-explanatory because it's Orcusts. And then we're playing Lynx, so I play Cherubini, which is pretty self-explanatory. It can send Symbol Skeleton, which is kind of funny. Never happened though. IP Masquerena, this is primarily for the Orcust setup, but you can use it as a generic link too. The caveat being that you can't use Cherubini for it, which is kind of unfortunate because sometimes that does come up, and I did play Barricade Board Blocker, like I mentioned. But like I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up because I want to play other cards as well. There's a lot of cards I really want to play in this deck, but there's just not a lot of space to fit. 2 copies of Galatea and a Longirsu. Maybe you can cut the second Galatea or the Longirsu, whichever, but I don't know. I really thought that these were fine. I definitely used both Galatea and I think I used Longirsu. I definitely didn't need Longirsu as much, but it was there for sure. And then I played a copy of well, actually, I didn't play Trisbana. This is the card that I slotted out Barricade Board Blocker for, but I want to play this card because you want it for IP primarily, but also it's just nice like for back row. And like if you can do the Beatrice Trisbana like turn 1 play where like you end up with Trisbana like here and Beatrice like up here or something like that. Oop, you can't even see that. Like that. Then that's pretty cool. Like if that ever manages to come up, but like with how much linking you're doing, as well as like introducing Cherubini into your combos, it doesn't come up as much anymore. But it is like still nice to kind of have that as an option, I suppose. Nightmares is Phoenix, Unicorn, and then I played Appaloosa, which is a good way to consolidate like Cherubini, Dante, and like an extender into something that's like meaningful. And Boar Sword, which is how you win the game. So yeah, not anything too special here. There's a lot of cards I wish I could play, like space-wise, but similar to Lunaloid Orcust, it's just not a lot of space. And then for the side deck, I played 3 copies of Nibiru and 3 copies of Gamma. I talked to a couple of people who I knew were going in. I know a lot of people like to play combo decks, so I just wanted something that would be like a very high impact against those, and I thought that these would be some of the best options. They were fine. It didn't like resolve either of them, but I boarded them in a couple of times. I didn't actually really use my side deck that much. Well, I used my side deck, but I didn't draw my side deck cards. I played 3 Twin Twister. The nice thing about these cards is you don't have to worry about Sekka's Light interference. Like, you don't have to feel bad about taking out Second Light, I guess, which is pretty cool. Like, you don't have like draw power in this build anyway, but it's fine. I cut the third evenly to make room for the driver, of course. But yeah, like I think this is pretty self-explanatory. This card works nicely with Trisbana as well, which I didn't play at locals, but it is something to consider moving forward. But yeah, I think the side deck is like, you know, nothing too special. It's like just pretty generic, which I think is like fine for locals especially. Well, yeah, that's gonna be it for this this deck profile. And if you guys want to see, I guess, like gameplay or like test hands with this deck, definitely let me know in the comment section below, because I do like BA, so I would have no problems playing this deck as well. And I can even play it on stream, by the way, which, if you don't know, I do have a Twitch, so be sure to follow me on that. Links in the description as always, which I'll be plugging again in my outro anyway, so I don't know why I just did that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Really hope you did enjoy. If you did, feel free to leave a like, as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more informative and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links are in the description as always. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys!